Filipino food, that's the subject of today's episode. I'm in Falls Church, Virginia at a place called Kamayan Fiesta. They serve their food Turo Turo style, which means point or point and scoop. You kind of have to go inside to see what they have. So let's go inside and find out. So I ended up getting 3 boxes. In the first box, I got the Carre Carre, the oxtail stew, and this vegetable medley. Let me start with the Carre Carre. This is a very well-known dish in Filipino cuisine. So it has oxtails in it, some eggplants, and some string beans in here as well. I'm going to start off with a big piece of meat. I'm going to get a few more bites. All right, for my next bite, I'm going to get some of the meat with the rice. Some of the chunks are leaner, some are fattier, and they're quite different. This next piece is going to be a really fatty piece. Yeah, in fact, that wasn't even oxtail. That was a big piece of tripe. It was good tripe, very tender piece of tripe, actually. I thought it was a fatty piece of oxtail, but it wasn't. It was just straight up tripe. I got more tripe, actually, than actual oxtail meat. I'm not well versed in Filipino food, so is it normal to have pieces of tripe in Carre Carre? Because my understanding is it's strictly an oxtail preparation, but I don't know. So do you know? If you know, leave me a comment in the comments section. There is literally 1 piece of oxtail in this little container. Now that piece was really good because I was stripping the flesh off the bone and it was very moist and succulent. That was the best piece. I mean, there were some kind of detached oxtail pieces earlier, but it was primarily a tripe experience for me. Not that I don't like tripe. I like tripe, but I wasn't expecting to be eating a lot of tripe. Carre Carre, I've had it before, but it's been a long while. Is it supposed to have a really pungent peanut flavor? This peanut flavor in this one is just mildly peanutty. So I don't know. I mean, I guess I'll have other versions of Carre Carre in the future. I suspect I'll be making more Filipino food videos. So it'll be interesting to compare this version with the other ones that I'll have later on. Let me not forget about the vegetables. Again, I don't know what it's called. It's got coconut milk and it's got a lot of string beans and some squash. I wonder if that's kabocha squash? Well, that's good. I like that coconut flavor. I mean, the string beans are nice and soft, but not overly soft, and the squash is nice and tender. There's a creaminess to the sauce that I like. There's a very coconutty creaminess to it. The squash tastes really good with the coconut sauce. But I would have to say the string beans really go well with that sauce. Wow. I don't think I've ever had string beans with like a coconut flavor like that before. Wow, that's really good. I have 2 more items. One is pork adobo, and I forget the name of it, but it's jackfruit, some sort of jackfruit preparation, and it's pink. I was briefly talking to a gentleman in line who was in front of me, and I asked him about it, and he said it was made with young jackfruit, so it's not the ripened jackfruit. He described it as Filipino kimchi, whatever that means. That's how he described it. And this particular box, I got the garlic fried rice. It's not just the white rice. But let me start with the jackfruit. All right, here goes. It has the flavor, the coconutty flavor of that vegetable medley with the string beans and the squash. It has a very similar coconutty flavor, but primarily I would have to say that this jackfruit, being unripe young jackfruit at that, it has a very neutral flavor. And it's mostly a textural experience, which is what that gentleman told me who was in line with me. He says it's mostly a textural thing. And the texture itself is very soft. It has a stringiness about it. It's like eating strands of something. Okay, I'm going to dive into the pork adobo. Adobo, of course, is probably the most famous of the Filipino dishes. I believe it's made with soy sauce and vinegar and pepper. I think those are the three main ingredients that goes into adobos. Adobo is usually made with pork and most famously with chicken. I did get the chicken adobo. I'm going to dig into this pork adobo first. Let me try it. Let me get a few more bites. Much like the Carre Carre, my experience of the pork differs depending on the chunk of meat that I'm eating. Some chunks are leaner, some chunks are fattier. The fattier ones taste better. Now, in terms of the flavor, I wouldn't say it's particularly robust. It just tastes like very savory, tender pork. I'm not getting a whole lot of pepperiness, a whole lot of soy flavor, or a whole lot of vinegar sourness. Right now, I'm enjoying it. It's good. But it's not having the flavors coming off of it that I might associate with those three main ingredients. And this garlic fried rice, I wouldn't say the garlic flavor is particularly strong, but it does obviously have more flavor than just plain white rice. And I like it. There's a mild, kind of a very mild garlicky flavor coming off the rice, which kind of is a nice change of pace from just simply plain neutral white rice. Next up, I have the chicken adobo. As I alluded to earlier, this is the most famous Filipino dish. It's the national dish of the Philippines. No self-respecting Filipino cafe or restaurant would be without chicken adobo. I imagine it's the same adobo sauce as I had with the pork, so let me just dig in and try it. What's the verdict? It's tender, savory, moist pieces of delicious chicken. The three main ingredients are, as I mentioned earlier, soy sauce, pepper, and vinegar. It's hard to parse out all those different elements. I'm not really tasting it. Maybe I'm looking for it kind of individually. Maybe I shouldn't be doing that. Maybe they become sort of harmonious in totality as the sum of three parts. It becomes some sort of savory deliciousness. Maybe that's what I'm tasting. There are some loose strands, some chunks of meat, some bits and pieces. You get some bigger pieces like this. It's taken from a leg or a thigh. Wow, yeah, that's good. Okay, the last thing I have to eat is this container of soup. I think this is the pork Cinnagang. Forgive me if I pronounced it wrong. It's this pork sour soup. And so let me try this. It's just a very, very gentle sourness. It's porky and kind of thin and gently oily, but it's good. It has kind of a vegetative flavor. There's some okra in here. I'm thinking maybe a lot of that okra juice has leached into the broth. It's not simply a pork flavor. There is some sort of vegetable flavor, definitely. Whoa, and there's a big piece of eggplant in here. I didn't notice it earlier because it was buried underneath the pork and the okra. I'm sure this has contributed to the flavor of the broth as well. Let me get some of this pork. Haven't tried the pork yet. Wow. It doesn't look that appetizing. It's just kind of natural looking and kind of gray even. But it is very good and very moist. No doubt because it's cooked in liquid. So it's been surrounded by liquid moisture the entire time it's been cooked. So it's very tender, very moist, and very flavorful too. Whoa, I mean, look at this. It doesn't look all that great, but oh my God. And that piece was a little bit fatty. It has a salty savoriness about it. Wow, that's really good. In fact, there are some Chinese soups, those homey Chinese soups that have, like pork riblets, things of that nature. I probably should have known better. Those pork chunks tend to be good and succulent like this too. Well, I enjoyed that Filipino food. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I should be making more Filipino food videos in the future. Until then, leave a comment below and subscribe. I'll catch you on my next food adventure. Take care. Bye-bye.